Let's find the best Steam Deck dock. How's it going, everyone, and welcome to Deck Ready. You're gonna have to excuse the bags under my eyes. I stayed up till 4:30 in the morning to finish God of War Ragnarok because I'm flying home for Thanksgiving and I can't bring my PS5, so I was like, screw it. I'm powering through the end, and I hope this game comes to PC sooner rather than later so I can just play it all over again. Such an incredible experience. And before I get into this huge dock breakdown, of course, as always, they're all linked down in the description in the order that I talk about them, but also there's one missing because it got canceled. I just wanted to show it off in a video because I got it before it was canceled and I think it's kind of cool. So at this point, it's no secret that there are plenty of options if you want to pick up a Steam Deck dock. You've got options from JSAUX, you've got options from Valve themselves, but today, the cheapest one, the sponsor of this video that I want to focus on is Ivolar. I've looked at the Ivolar dock before here on the channel, but they've actually upgraded it since then. But back then, I basically said it's probably your best option if you want to go with the cheaper third-party dock, mainly because it's got a lower, shorter profile, but it also has a little stand in the middle of the back, so it doesn't block that vent on the Steam Deck that's for the fan. It has a lot of the same ports as the Steam Deck dock and as pretty much every dock out there at this point. It's got 3 USB 3.0 ports, it's got a gigabit Ethernet port, it's got a USB-C port for power delivery, and it also has an HDMI port. And the USB-C cord that comes off the back to like plug into your Steam Deck, it has the L-shaped bracket, so it's gonna fit right on there perfectly. Compared to the Steam Deck dock, it's missing that display port, but it's also $50 cheaper than the Steam Deck dock, so I don't really mind losing that port. Obviously, one big difference is also that you're losing the charger that comes with the Steam Deck dock, the extra official Steam Deck charger, but for $44, I think this thing is totally worth it. I actually used it as my main USB hub at this desk setup here that I have under the camera. I have my monitor, my keyboard, my mouse, and my microphone all plugged into the USB-C Steam Deck dock, and then I basically have a one cable solution where when I want to use my Steam Deck at this setup, I plug it into the dock and it works just fine, or when I want to use my main gaming laptop PC as a desktop, I just plug the Steam Deck dock into that computer's USB-C port and everything just converts right to it. I basically used 2 different third-party docks while I was waiting for the Steam Deck official dock. One of them was this Ivolar dock and it worked perfectly fine. The other one is the next one I'll talk about, which is the exact same dock, but it's from JSAUX. The one big update with the JSAUX dock is that you can actually get it on Amazon now, which is great because a lot of people were having trouble ordering from the JSAUX website, and this dock is functionally identical in most ways to the Ivolar dock. The only difference is it doesn't have the little lip, so the actual dock itself is a little bit taller, and it does cover up like the bottom, I would say, quarter of the Steam Deck vent. So if that's something that really stresses you out, you might want to look at the Ivolar dock versus the JSAUX dock. This one is also $5 more at $50, so 45 versus 50, that's $5. That's enough for a lot of games in the Steam sale. So at that point, really though, $5, it's up to your personal preference. It does look a little less sleek as the Ivolar dock. Like the Ivolar dock kind of looks like they made it as low profile as possible, but again, I use this for the exact same amount of time as the Ivolar dock and I had no issues, so really there's not much of a problem there. And the third choice is the official Steam Deck docking station. Now, it's a dock, right? It's very similar to the JSAUX dock. It's very similar to the Ivolar dock. The differences are it does have a DisplayPort cable slot. So if you use DisplayPort and that's important to you, that's a good thing to know. It is also plastic versus metal, which is what you get with all the JSAUX docks and the Ivolar dock. So if you want a heavier, more aluminum feeling dock, you could go with one of those two versus the official Steam Deck dock. And finally, it gets firmware updates from Valve quite frequently. Like when you plug it into the Steam Deck, it'll be like, hey, you have a firmware update for the dock. They make it more compatible with more stuff. I think that's great. I've never had to get a firmware update for any of the JSAUX or Ivolar docks, but also they haven't had any issues with any TV or monitor I throw them at. The big reason you might want to get the Steam Deck dock other than aesthetics is the fact that it comes with an extra charger. So if you're someone like me who likes to travel a lot, you can have one charger that just permanently lives next to your bed or wherever you charge your Steam Deck, and then you can keep one in your backpack. And I just like using official peripherals. I also have an Anker fast charger that works just fine, but I like the official Steam Deck charger. So you pay $90, you get the dock that's official from Valve. You also get a charger included with it. But again, I don't think you're really losing out on much if you go with one of the cheaper options, specifically the Ivolar or the JSAUX. And that's really only for the just basic docks that you use with the Steam Deck, because now things are about to get interesting. So this is what I've talked about before here on the channel, and you'll notice that this is a lot thicker than the other docks that you can get for the Steam Deck. And the reason for that thickness is because if you pop off this little top here, you also will see inside that there is a full-sized NVMe 2TB drive in there. I think it's upside down, but yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just the one that came with the actual dock. You can plug your Steam Deck into this dock and get 2 terabytes of extra storage. So if you're someone who likes playing your Steam Deck docked on a monitor with a controller or on a TV or something like that, and you have some specific games that you're playing on a TV, like for me personally, I'm playing God of War and God of War 2, the original, like the 2005 God of War, and I also plan on playing Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta again. Those are 2 of my favorite games from my childhood. Anyway, I play those on the TV, and those are games I would store on this NVMe that's in the dock. Now, I'm assuming it's because of the NVMe drive in there, but you are losing one USB 3.0 port. You still get the gigabit Ethernet port, and you also get the USB-C power delivery port and the HDMI port. So everything is mostly the same. You're just missing out on still the DisplayPort port from the Steam Deck dock and one USB 3 port. So not that bad. Where you're really going to notice the difference though is the price. So if you want to get this dock just on its own, it's $129. So you're paying $90 for the Steam Deck official dock. You're going to pay $130 for one that has an SSD port, but you can also get it with drives already included. So for 1 terabyte, you're going to pay $200 for the dock and the SSD. And for 2 terabytes, you're going to pay $270, which, you know, there is an argument to be made that that's kind of a good price, because with the PS5, a lot of the drives you buy are around $270 for 2 terabytes, but the speeds are different, right? Like the PS5 drives are way faster than what this dock can support and what you'll get with the dock if you go with the included drives that JSAUX is selling. Still, this thing is also made of metal, just like the other JSAUX and Ivolar docks, which is great. The build quality is definitely there. I can't tell you if it's worth it because this was sent to me by JSAUX and it has very limited use, right? Like there's a very specific person that would use this. For me, I have a lot of my emulated games on here that I would play on the TV. And I will mention that the process for formatting the NVMe drive to work with the Steam Deck can be a little bit tricky, but once you do that, adding that drive as an extra library in Steam could not be simpler. You just go into the settings, go to downloads, and then you can add another Steam library. I actually have 2 SSDs on my laptop, so I have 2 different Steam libraries, and it works totally fine. And when you unplug the drive, it goes away, and it'll remember where that drive is, so when you plug the drive back in, you don't have to keep adding it every single time. It'll just pop back up if you restart Steam. Next up is a really interesting dock because it was actually canceled after JSAUX sent it to me, but I'm still going to talk about it because it's kind of interesting. So this one on the surface looks the same as the NVMe dock, right? Like you can put them side by side and they're very, very similar. Like the NVMe dock obviously is bigger because it needs a slot for an NVMe drive, but the reason this one is bigger is because it has RGB. I was like, how am I going to show you the RGB? But I think I figured it out. So I've got the charging cable from my PS5 here, and I'm plugging it into the dock, and yeah, it works. Okay, so it's got like rainbow RGB all the way around. And other than that, it's the same dock as the other $50 JSAUX dock. It has an HDMI port, it's got the USB-C power delivery, it's got 3 USB 3.0 ports and the gigabit Ethernet port, and obviously, yeah, the big difference is that it has RGB. Now, the reason this was canceled, as far as I can find, is that JSAUX was working with someone else, like a different company, to manufacture this RGB dock with the cool LED lights in there, and they just stole the design and started making it themselves. So JSAUX is redesigning the RGB dock, and they're going to sell it eventually. So you can't actually buy this one, but I'm assuming it would have been $60 or $70, you know, not that big of a markup from the regular drive, just because I don't think RGB adds that much cost to the overall drive. But if you're someone who's got the like big mouse pad that has the RGB light all the way around it, you've got like a laptop with a light up keyboard, you've got like neon lights all over your room that change colors, or if you like playing video games in pitch black darkness and you want to know where your Steam Deck is, you need like an RGB dock sitting on your desk, this is an option for you. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Like, I don't know if you can actually change the RGB colors or if it's just this spectrum cycling all the time, but a rainbow Steam Deck dock, I've seen weirder things, but it's kind of cool. And now we're going to look at, I guess, the most premium third-party dock that you can get. This is again from JSAUX. It costs $57.99. I think this is one you can still only get from their website, but as you'll notice, if you take a look at the back, it's very similar to all the other docks we've looked at today, but it does have all the same ports as the Steam Deck official dock. So you've got the USB-C port, you've got the 3 USB 3.0 ports, you've got the HDMI port, and as you'll see right here, you have the DisplayPort port. So if you're someone who really wants that DisplayPort connectivity, but you don't want to pay the $90 to get the extra Steam Deck charger, and you don't care about the aesthetic look of having the Steam Deck logo on the plastic charger, I would say this is also a pretty good option for you. So yeah, this is pretty cool. With the Nintendo Switch, I know that they came out with third-party docks that were kickstarted like over time, and people were having issues with those bricking their Switches at some point. I think they kind of worked out the kinks, and you can get some third-party docks that are more travel friendly than the official Nintendo Switch dock. But really, the amount of options for the Steam Deck compared to the Nintendo Switch dock are basically infinite, right? Like you could use any of these docks and they'll work just fine. You can get the official dock, it'll work great, but you can even just use a USB-C hub. Like before any of these docks came out, like when I first got my Steam Deck, I was using just a regular old Hutu USB-C hub that I got from Austin Evans the first day I started working for him like 6 years ago, and it's held up just fine. It's got all the ports you could ever want, just the same actually as all these. It's got DisplayPort, HDMI, USB-C power delivery, it's got USB 3.0 ports, it's got a SD card slot, and it's a lot cheaper. Those things are only like 20 bucks if you want to pick them up for yourself. Oh, and before I go, I wanted to let you guys know that there's a new stable update for the Steam Deck that honestly brings a ton of great features. The biggest one for me personally, as someone who has a 1TB Steam Deck with a 1TB micro SD card, is they improved the startup time for users with huge Steam libraries. Yeah, it's kind of like a weird nitpicky thing, but when you have a ton of games, it takes a little bit longer for your Steam Deck to boot up if you've shut it down, which I actually do quite a bit. When I switch to Windows, I have to shut it down, and also when I increase the VRAM, I had to shut it down, and I noticed how long it was taking to start back up. So they did improve the startup time for users with huge libraries. They also fixed an issue that was really bugging me in October when I was flying home. If you've ever tried playing in offline mode, you might have noticed it takes a lot longer to start games in offline mode than it does in online mode, so they fixed that. They made it so it doesn't take nearly as long. I still think it takes a little bit longer than it does in online mode, but it's like way less of a pain point now. So that's a great inclusion in the stable update. They also fixed something that I noticed recently when I got my new monitor, which is the 4K Sony InZone M9. I plugged my Steam Deck into the dock, and because it's a 4K monitor, it was kind of screwing up the orientation of the Steam Deck on the screen. I can confirm that this update actually fixes all the issues there. I tried it out immediately and it works great. They made the Steam Deck as a whole smaller, which is always good. They also added the QR code login, which in my experience works so much better than typing in your password every time. You can just scan a QR code with your phone and it opens the Steam app on your phone and logs you in. I love that. And finally, you can test out the new big picture mode if you're on Windows, which I have used a ton since it came out in beta, and I think it works great. So you can basically turn your Windows computer into a Steam Deck, and you get that great interface if you're using your Steam PC on a TV. You can use your controller to navigate Steam, and it works awesome. It's such a huge improvement over big picture, which, you know, big picture they kind of stopped updating a long time ago, and for what it was, I think it worked pretty well. I used it for a few years, honestly, but yeah, the new SteamOS interface is just so much better. So I'm glad that that's working its way over to Windows. Hopefully that's just another step closer to them finally saying SteamOS 3.0 is finished and we can install it on any PC we want. And then also I hope they have dual booting for Windows kind of figured out. They did break Destiny 2. I think it was Bungie's fault with the new APU update, which kind of sucks. Basically, when you start the game, it says Destiny 2 is not supported on Steam Deck, which if that's Bungie locking people out from the game, that's just complete bullshit in my opinion. Like, I really don't get the hate that Bungie has. I've heard rumors that they have some weird partnership now with Epic Games, and Epic is like, if you want to work with us, you basically have to block Steam Deck access, which really sucks, honestly. So I hope that gets figured out sooner rather than later. It might be figured out by the time you see this video, but yeah, maybe don't update your Steam Deck APU driver for Windows if you are someone who plays a lot of Destiny 2 on the device.